Hey, what's up, guys? I thought I'd do something a little different today because I've had two people reach out to me in like the last week and ask if I liked my Jeep better than I like my Colorado. So I thought I would make a quick, very subjective, very unscientific video, kind of, I guess, just comparing and contrasting to let you know which one I like better. So before I get started, I think, as I was thinking about it, I think that one of the most important things that you have to do is define what overlanding is for you. I assume if you're watching this, you do some type of overlanding or off-roading, whatever that is. So I think defining your use case really matters if you're going to compare any vehicle, really. So I thought about it, and for me, I wrote it down. I came up with overlanding is a self-reliant way of traveling that's about exploring remote places and seeking out the best campsites no matter the terrain or weather. So to summarize that, for me, overlanding is more about the experience and the exploring, like getting out, camping with your friends and your family, and then your vehicle is just a tool. So if you have to use that vehicle in a certain way, that's awesome. But if you don't have to, it's not really that big of a deal for me. I do know that there's other people that if they're not just pushing their vehicle to the limits, that it's not fun for them. So your use case may be different. I think most people lie somewhere in the middle, but some of the best overlanding trips I've ever been on, I didn't even have to put it in four-wheel drive. I've been on others that were also quite epic that, were dicey, and we had to use every tool that we had to get through, and those are fun too. But again, for me, it's about the experience, not necessarily the difficulty of the trail that I'm on, if that makes sense. So just to jump into it, and I'll throw some videos in too to make this a little more interesting to watch. But what were they? I had a 2021 Gladiator Mojave. As far as performance went, I pretty much just put 17-inch Method bead grip wheels, which those bead grip wheels are amazing. I love those things. And then I put 37-inch tires on it. Outside of that, pretty much everything I did was either cosmetic or recovery. I mean, I did put a bumper on it. It had a winch, all the other things. You can see that in the video. But basically, as far as performance, it was pretty much stock with wheels and tires. And I'm in a similar situation with the Colorado. It's a 2024 ZR2. It's got a 1-inch lift on it. It's got Method wheels. They're not bead grip. They're just normal Method wheels. And it has 35-inch tires. One thing about the Colorado, which if you're watching this, you probably know, it has a front locker and a rear locker, which really helps the ZR2 kind of catch up in capability with the Mojave. Before I move on to comparing them, side note, if I did have it to do over again, I would probably start with a Rubicon, not the Mojave, because at this point, knowing what I know now, I think the additional locker and disconnecting sway bar just makes more sense for me. So side note there. So I came up with like 4 or 5 categories to kind of compare them that I think are important in the overlanding world. First one is obviously capability. A Jeep's a Jeep. I think at face value, the Jeep was more capable, but maybe even more important, it gave me more confidence. It just felt more durable. I think like the solid axles, the armor that comes under it with the Mojave or the Gladiator, just seemed beefier. I really banged hard on that Jeep, and I never really doubted it. So as far as capability goes, I would definitely give it to the Jeep. We'll talk about some more reasons why here in a second, but the ZR2, it's still very capable. Front, rear locker. It's an incredibly capable vehicle. In full disclosure, I haven't had the opportunity to push the ZR2 like I pushed the Jeep. But again, there's that confidence factor. I don't feel like the ZR2 is as durable as the Jeep was. I could be wrong, but just driving it, that's the feeling I get. That's why, you see these YouTube videos with people out there on the trail, usually with Toyotas, but you see them out there breaking axles and stuff like that. Typically, you don't have to worry about that with a Jeep. So along with performance, something else that I thought of was upgradability. I don't even know if that's a word, but upgradability. Man, obviously that's a huge plus for the Jeep, because when it comes to capability, your options to upgrade a Jeep are just so much better. And we all know that this stuff is really expensive. And like with the Jeep, you can get on Marketplace or eBay or whatever, and you can find deals and parts. You can find millions of them. You can upgrade a Jeep a million different ways. My wife calls them Mr. Potato Heads because you can make it whatever you want to make it. So I think budget for budget, if you put the same money into a Jeep that you do a Colorado, likely as you upgrade them, you're more likely to come out with a much more capable vehicle, and they're just easier and honestly more affordable, I think, to upgrade than the Colorado. Now, that being said, the Colorado does have some specific places out there that are making parts for them, like, Peak Suspension and CCE, and there's others out there that are doing a great job. But really, they are all kind of produce the same parts in a different package, so your options just aren't near as wide with the Colorado. Parts are out there, but you're not going to be able to get on Marketplace and search, Colorado parts or ZR2 parts and just have a plethora to choose from. That's just not the reality. So I think those first two, capability, upgradability, that goes to the Jeep all day. But from here on out, I think this is where the ZR2 starts to kind of take over for me. And the next one that I have is comfort, specifically on the trail. Now, I understand this has a lot to do with the suspension and the shocks that you choose to put on it, but I think there's more here too. And the Jeep it's a Jeep. It might as well be a side-by-side when you're out on the trail. They rattle, they squeak, there's wind noise. They're not insulated that well, so if it's really hot, up by your head it's hot. If you're really cold, down by your toes are cold. That's just how those work, and you just know that when you buy them. That's the Jeep experience. And to be honest, for me, that was totally fine, but it did kind of get old. So that's where the ZR2 really starts to shine. The first few times I took it out, I was shocked at how quiet it was. Going over really rough terrain, there was no rattles, there was no shakes, there was no vibration. It was really quite impressive. And the longer I had the Jeep, the worse those things seem to have gotten. And as I've, used the Colorado more, it hasn't really developed any squeaks or vibrations or rattles. It's insulated better. You stay cooler, you stay warmer when you want to be warm. It's just a nicer place for me to spend time on the trail. In stock for stock, the Mojave that I had, it had 2.5-inch Fox shocks. It was supposed to be kind of the Ford Raptor of the Jeep world, supposed to take bumps well, be nice and smooth. That's a similar situation with the ZR2, and I think off the showroom floor, the ZR2 just rides better. On the trail and off the trail, but on the trail, I think it handles bumps better. It smooths them out a little better for me personally. So comfort on the trail, 100% goes to the ZR2. Setting up camp. So I'm thinking things like storage, what it's like with the tent. Again, just living out of the vehicle. This is very unscientific, super subjective for me. I have enjoyed the ZR2 more because I know this is kind of weird, but it feels a little more like home to me, where again, the Jeep felt more like a tool that I was using. So depending on what you're looking for me, if I were going to take, a 5-day, 8-day, 10-day overlanding trip, I would prefer to be camping out of the Colorado. The storage situation in it is pretty good. It's got a really cool tailgate storage where I keep all of my recovery gear. The plug in the back, it all just seems to work better for me. So as far as the camping situation goes, ZR2 all day. And then the last thing that I have before I kind of sum this up is just daily driving. This is a no-brainer, kind of like capability is a no-brainer for the Jeep. Daily driving. If it's your daily vehicle, the Colorado, it just does better than the Jeep. It's just, it's the facts. Especially after I got those 37s on the Jeep, you get the road walking, you get the noise, you get the tire noise. And it's not just because of the tires. I think it's just the way that that noise travels through the vehicle. Jeep wasn't worried about that when they made it. So that's something that you do have to be aware of and something you have to live with every day. The Colorado, I can go about my business and drive it, take the kids to school, do all the things, go to the store, and you almost forget that you're in a vehicle that you've built out to do what I do out of it, because it just does that really well. Another thing too that the ZR2 just absolutely kills the Jeep in, unless you have the 392, is performance. The motor's so much better. Goes down the road better. You want to run 70, 75 miles per hour. The gas mileage is better. I have a 20-foot travel trailer. It pulls that significantly better. It's a really torquey motor. So just overall, I think it's a better truck. So out of those 5 things, I think I give 3 to the Colorado, 2 to the Jeep, and it comes down to capability versus everything else. So I think in conclusion, you can't really go wrong with either. It comes down to your use case. Are you going out adventuring and camping with your friends, or are you going out seeking the hardest trails that you can find? That's what it comes down to. For me, it's going to be Colorados, Tacomas, 4Runners, maybe even a Bronco. Those make better overlanding vehicles to me than the Jeep does. But I loved my Jeep. It's a great vehicle, so again, you can't go wrong. At the end of the day, I think whatever vehicle you decide to get, make sure you've got good recovery gear. Hopefully you got a good friend with you that can get you out of trouble. And whatever vehicle you buy, I think you should have a locker. I think that's really important. At least get a rear locker. I've seen it get many people out of many tough situations that otherwise they might have been stuck out in a pretty rough situation. So that's what I got for you. I know that's super overview, but I've had a few people ask. So for me, if they're both sitting there, I'm taking the Colorado. I'm leaving the Jeep behind. I love it. I loved the Jeep, but I am happy with the Colorado situation. So hopefully this helps somebody. Got a couple videos coming up, doing an add-a-leaf, and I got a new tent that's pretty sweet. So I want to do a video on that just because it's a cool tent. I'm excited about it. So see you guys later. Take care.